Hey guys, this is Junior from Live Clean, and today I am super excited because I am here with good friend and Rochester Hills native, Pamela Vaccarelli. Pamela is a psychologist and health and wellness coach and specializes in lifestyle management and various food and weight issues. So Pamela, thank you for coming and welcome.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks for having me here.
Of course.
I'm looking forward to the talk on May 23rd.
Yes, so it brings me to my next point. Pamela will be in-house here at Live Clean Nutrition giving a seminar on Tuesday, May 23rd at 7 p.m. And we're going to be going over, I should say she'll be going over, strategies for successful weight loss and weight maintenance. And a lot of this has to do with our psychological relationship with food and ourselves, right?
Right.
So, a few questions to kind of go over some of this stuff, because I know that the psychological aspect of eating is something that we've all heard, but we're not all necessarily familiar with, right? Mm-hmm. So when it comes to that side of things, I've heard this term before, but some of us probably haven't. What is mindful eating, and how can it help with weight control?
Great question. So mindful eating really is about our attention and our intention when it comes to eating. It's really about being present, about being engaged with a meal on a deeper level, probably than most of us are. Mindful eating is beautiful in so many different ways because it creates connection. And when we're more connected, we're more likely to be appreciative and compassionate and respectful. So imagine that relationship with your food. And when we're present, what are we more likely to do? Make choices that are more conscious. Because when we check out, right, we can eat a whole bag of chips and don't even realize it. Pass our exit, don't even know we did that, right? Absolutely. So when we're in the body, it's a term called embodied, we're actually more likely to make choices that are in our best interest. Interesting.
So eating with intention is a term I absolutely love, mm-hmm. right? So even me personally, I've had my own issues with, with food and chronic health issues that stem from the things I was putting in my body. I now view eating in a different light, mm-hmm. right? I'm eating because I want to accomplish this or that, versus eating because, hey, it tastes good and it's really, really convenient.
Right.
Right. So I think eating with intention is something that a lot of us could definitely put into practice a little bit more. So I'm very, very happy you said that.
Yeah, and we're certainly going to talk more about emotional eating and kind of what's the dynamics around that. Not seeing it as such a bad thing, because it kind of has a bad rap. But we're going to see it in sort of a different way and be able to use mindful eating even with emotional eating.
I love it. I find this stuff fascinating, and I'm sure a lot of you guys do too. I guess to elaborate a little bit further on that, can you tell us a little bit more about relationships with food?
So I love this whole idea of relationships with food because we're in relation to everything. One's relationship with food is actually a really nice doorway into what is their world like. So do you use food for emotional rescue? Do you use food for stress relief? Do you abuse it? Do you ignore it? Do you see it as the enemy? Do you use it as reward? Who are you as the eater, right? Do you eat fast? Do you eat slow? Do you hide your food, right?
Wow.
So that is really kind of the ticket into like, how is somebody in their own world, right? Food can become the tranquilizer, right, if you're anxious, or it could be the mood elevator if you're depressed. So relationships with food are key and really important to how that reflects on our weight, right? Because it's our associations with food. It isn't food. Food's not the problem, but it's how we associate with food. And food is more than just sustenance. And we'll get into that too in the talk. But think about this. When you were sick, what did your mom usually bring you?
Yeah, right. Some type of food.
Right,
Comfort food.
Comfort food.
Sorry,
you got good grades in school. What did you get, maybe?
Yeah, some type of edible arrangement.
Right. So food for reward, right? So we have all of these associations with food. And when people are feeling down, they typically go for their comfort foods, right? And again, I want to emphasize that food does work. Right? On a physiological level, it is going to make a difference. But is it working for you with whatever your health goals are.
Very interesting. So I really want her to elaborate on this now because I'm so fascinated, interested in this particular topic. I know that we all have different relationships with food, and that's one of the things that I find amazing is it's a dynamic. The relationships are never the same between you and me and her and him. So it's dynamic. It's always evolving. I think that's very cool. However, we're gonna have to wait till the talk again on Tuesday, May 23rd, 7 p.m. here at Live Clean Nutrition in Rochester Hills. Now, earlier in your last response, you did drop a buzzword, one that I talk to people about every single day in this store when they want to talk about achieving optimal health. And how to lose weight or why they're retaining weight, and that is stress. So can you briefly explain how does stress play a part in weight control?
Sure. So when we're in stress physiology, one of the last things that the body is considering doing is digesting food, right? The body is hyper aware of potential threat, whether that's real or whether that's imagined. So the body doesn't know anything different than what the brain is telling it. So when we're in stress physiology, we're actually at the least optimal state of digesting, assimilating, calorie burning, and metabolizing food. So we'll talk about actually the relaxation response a lot in conjunction with the stress physiology, because those two, it's one switch on, one switch off. They don't work at the same time. So when we're in stress physiology, we're actually, the digestive system is one thing that kind of goes to sleep. Right? So blood is pumped to the heart, to the lungs, to the extremities, so you can survive that threat, whatever that threat happens to be. And that could be a mental or an emotional threat, or something actually that's happening out here in the environment. So when you learn how to shift that from a stress response to a relaxation response, you're actually now creating the optimal conditions for assimilating, digesting, calorie burning, and metabolizing your food. So it's pretty fascinating. I mean, the stress response is something that's built into our DNA, and it's our protective, and there's so much wisdom there, right? But the stress response is really only has like a 3 to 6 minute window, so you can survive that attack or that threat.
Right?
Exactly. But for most people, how long is the stress response on?
Well, and I'm glad you said that, and again, this is something that I talk to people every single day, and I can't wait for you to elaborate on this on the 23rd, because everyone today is stressed. Whether we recognize it or not, the body may perceive it as such. And we're very primal in the way our body is and the way it responds to stress today still.
Right.
And the fact that so many of us we have chronically elevated levels of stress and cortisol, right, the fight or flight hormone. Who knew that was, that was directly correlated and related to weight gain and the inability to lose weight. So I'm happy you said that, and I think people are going to get a lot of value and probably learn and hear some things they've never heard before on the 23rd when you get into that.
Right.
So thank you. I'm very excited, if you can't already tell.
Thanks.
I guess that brings us to our next point. So we have all these things: relationship with food, things that contribute to weight gain, inability to lose weight. How do we change our habits?
Yeah. So first of all, we have to have awareness, right? And a lot of the things that I talk about, being present, being engaged, actually facilitate being aware, creating higher awareness. So 80 to 90% of change is just being aware. You can't change what you don't know, right? And what you don't know, beliefs, things like that, are typically running the show. So the more that you can bring those things up to the surface, the more that you're actually able to use those as tools, you cultivate them, and then you're able to sort of create the life that, is something that you want, something that you desire, versus being controlled by habit. And habits, they serve us. They work well, right? Like, you don't have to think of everything it takes to tie your shoe anymore, right? You know how to do that because you repeated it enough that it became a habit. So they serve us. But then they can also be a disservice, right? If you're reactive, that's a great sign that you're just stuck in a pattern. So being able to identify those things can actually help with your self-awareness. We can work, actually some things I'll be talking about is basically how to dissect a habit and actually how to create a habit that's going to support you and your health goals.
I love it.
Cool.
Absolutely love it, yeah. So awareness is, you said
Awareness
80 or
is the key.
90%. Awareness is the key.
Yeah.
Wow, so simple,
How can you
right?
change what you don't know, right?
So simple. Okay, lastly, what would you say, is there one most important step, or are there a couple of important steps that we can take, or just things that make a difference in somebody's weight?
Yeah. So I really think acceptance is the key to change. Like one of the keys to change besides having awareness. But if you don't accept where you are, right, you can't lose what you don't own, right?
Yeah.
I can't lose $100 if I never had $100. So accepting self where one is right now is pretty important to be able to move on. Bottom line, it's about how you speak to yourself. It's the why behind why you do things. You can't hate yourself thin, right? Negative self-talk actually creates stress physiology, which we just spoke about. So when you're in stress physiology, it's actually not helping, it's counterproductive, quite honestly, to what your health goals are, right? And we know how that whole stress, kind of reaction can be detrimental to somebody's health, for current conditions or even for long term. So self-love, right? It's reframing how you say things. And so that's one of my favorite things to talk about, is just to shift your perceptions, how I frame something, the language that I use. The body listens to everything that you say, right?
Yeah.
So, instead of like, I'm dieting, or, I can't have these foods, it's about getting yourself to be into a place of empowerment that, I choose not to is a much more empowering place than I can't or I shouldn't, right? Mm-hmm. So changing language is one thing that I work with, and helping people reframe. So it's not that, I'm doing this because I hate myself, or I don't like how I look, things like that. It's that I love myself enough that I'm going to give myself the gift of this.
It makes so much sense. The body works as one complete system, mm-hmm. right? And if you're getting impacted here, it doesn't just stay here localized. It's going to affect you here, everywhere. Just one big series of, a chain reaction. And I think some of the best things I'm hearing right now, and from getting to know you over the past couple months here, is you're going to address this thing not just from the inside out, but also the outside in, and you're really going to cover all angles. I think that's really important for people to understand, is that putting on weight or not being able to lose weight is more than just, I guess, what you put into your body. It's more than just eating food.
Right.
A lot of it is the way you view yourself, the way you perceive yourself, and really respecting yourself goes a long way into getting to where you want to get from a health standpoint.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really kind of an untapped area where, what I love to talk about is really taking a deeper dive into your relationships, not only with food, but with life, right?
Yeah.
Because food is life. It's the pulse of life.
Absolutely.
It sustains us, right? But there's so many more layers to that to explore, right?
Well, I cannot wait to explore those layers. And guys, you will have a chance to Tuesday, May 23rd, 7 p.m. here at Live Clean Nutrition in Rochester Hills with Pamela Vaccarelli, again, psychologist and health and wellness coach based here in Rochester Hills. You do not want to miss it. We will see you then.
Thank you.